Are you a current Wealthbox user and having a hard time trying to break out your client segmentation inside of your CRM? Maybe you're stuck on how do you actually do that, keep track of it, actually do it when you have new clients, and also then finally report on it inside of Wealthbox to actually get that good, clean set of data. Well, if that's you, in today's video, we're going to be talking about exactly how to do that, building out the customizations inside of your Wealthbox, and also giving you some ideas on if you're struggling on how to actually break out your client segmentation, what we've seen other advisors do inside of their own CRMs. Hey, it's Matthew. If you're looking to build workflows that actually work and help your firm scale and grow, please feel free to grab your copy of Mastering Strategies to Avoid the RA Disaster. The link will be in the description below. And if you're serious about building workflows, processes, and automations for your firm, let's connect. Schedule an intro call with us using the link in our description below, and we'd be more than happy to get to know you and your firm. All right, now back to the video. So right now we are on an example client, Joe Schmo's contact, and we actually have him broken out into a specific contact category or type here called Client Tier 1. And we see a lot of firms either use a tiering system of like 1, 2, 3, or maybe ABC, maybe like platinum, gold, silver. It really doesn't matter. It's just really how do you actually break it out and present that data inside of your own CRM. So again, we talked about in the beginning of this video about client segmentation. Some firms that we've seen struggle through it and can't really make that decision. So we're going to provide you with three main categories as how we see other firms breaking out their client segmentation. So that first major one that we see a lot of firms really building out and trying to identify is AUM. And we know the firm industry practice is to identify, well, how much in AUM does a client have? And we'll kind of base them on their client tier rank. But as this industry evolves, we have also seen a little bit of a mix of both financial planning as well as referrals and how many referrals they're actually giving you, like the existing client, for new clients within the past year. So to break that out a little further, when we talk about financial planning needs, you may have very simple planning clients who are kind of like clockwork. Maybe you do and specialize in retirement planning, and you do basic retirement planning for all your clients. And let's say this client is very basic in their plan is very normal to what you've seen other retirement plans you have built out. That may be categorized as a very low complex financial planning client. Take them through income, tax, maybe some estate planning. And if you know your team can execute on that pretty easily without any other external guidance or maybe you having to step in, that's definitely someone who we would categorize as like a client tier 2 or a B or maybe like a gold. Another segmentation piece to this that we wanted to talk about is how many referrals is an individual client giving you per year. So if you know that, let's say a client is a tier 1, but they've actually referred at least 2 to 3 good new clients this past year, you may want to bump them up from a tier 1 to maybe like a tier 1 plus. So we'll show you here inside of Wealthbox. If I click on edit on the top right options, it's going to bring me here to this page where I can update Joe Schmo's contact card. So if I scroll down, and I'll show you here all the way under our contact type, we have a couple of different types here. So we have the tier 1, tier 2, and then tier 3. So when we talked about that tier 1 plus, maybe a tier 2 plus, we'll show you how to actually make these customizations too, especially if you don't even have your client segmentation customizations broke out inside of your Wealthbox CRM yet. So to actually make these customizations and to build them out inside of your CRM, what we're going to do is click on the top right, 3 dots. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on settings. Once I click on settings here on the left-hand side, under Workspace, I'm going to go ahead and click on the customizations. And then finally, under custom types, I will go ahead and click on contact types. So this is where we're going to be able to break out our client segmentation inside of our CRM. So just like what we talked about, we only have tier 1, 2, and 3. But if I wanted to add that additional layer of a tier 1 plus, or maybe a tier 2 plus, because I know that this client has a lot of potential to move up to a tier 1 once they retire in about a year or two, that would be a great way to actually organize and keep track of those clients who maybe need a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more love, so that you're keeping on top of them so that you can identify, hey, there's future opportunity here, and we need to make sure that we don't drop the ball at our firm internally when we're communicating with them, when we're actually coming up with a next revisit plan or annual review. So we'll go ahead and show you how to actually do that. So for our purposes here, I'm going to go ahead and create the tier 1 plus category. And then I'll also create the other ones as well. So when you add a new contact status here, or contact type, excuse me, we'll go ahead and drag it up all the way on the top because we can organize them from highest to lowest. So you have that customization to do that inside of Wealthbox CRM. So again, I'll go ahead and click the green button here, and then I will add the tier 2 plus. Again, a client who is an existing client but has potential to move up to a tier 1 client. I'll drag all the way up here. And then finally, I'll go ahead and create that tier 3 plus client. So click that, save, and then once it saves, I'm going to go ahead and drag it up right above the client tier 3. Great. So now that we have that organized and built out here, we're going to show you how to actually report on this data so that you can get clean information and data out of your Wealthbox CRM. So to actually build out these customizations inside of your CRM, what we're going to want to do is on the left-hand side, we'll go to the reports button. And once we click on that, you may have some pre-built Wealthbox reports that were already preloaded for you, but we're going to create a custom one here by clicking on the green button on the top right, create new report. So once I do that, I'm going to want to make sure that the report object is contact. And for our purposes here, what we can do is call this active and then clients. And then we're going to pause the video here, build out the report itself, and then we're going to walk you through how you can actually do that inside of your own Wealthbox CRM. All right, so now that we've actually built out the report here, we're going to show you exactly how to do it inside of your own Wealthbox CRM. So first thing that we're going to want to check and make sure is that the field is set to active, and the operator is essentially like the true if, true then kind of function. So the operator is going to be set as is. And then finally, we want to make sure that is true. So what this first line is saying in the report is that I just want to show any contact that is active. And our next line here is where we're going to start actually filtering. So we want to make sure that the contact is active, and I want to make sure that the contact type is a tier 1 plus. Now, everything below here from lines 3 to 7 is essentially, instead of the contact type being a tier 1 plus, I want to make sure that I identify any active clients that are or tier 1 or a tier 2 or and so on. So essentially what we're doing here is we are telling the report that we want to show active clients, want to make sure that they are a tier 1 plus, or they're a tier 1, or they're a tier 2 plus, and so on. So the next thing that we're going to want to make sure that we do under the criteria, we're just going to identify the information that we actually want to pull inside of the report. So I know I want the name. Let's say I want the age of this client, and then finally here, I just want to see the phone number. So that'll be the information you're actually seeing in that report. If you want to export it, have it live as like an Excel spreadsheet, or you could just have it live directly inside of Wealthbox CRM. And then the last thing, we're actually going to want to group these contacts by their contact type. So I just want to have a full view of how many tier 1 pluses I have, how many tier 2s I have. So I can do that here by grouping them by their contact type. So once we do that, another thing I may add here is if you want to show the advisor that is actually assigned, we can also add this who it's actually assigned to, so to group it out. So if I want to show both, I want to know all the tier 1 plus clients, but I also want to know how many of them are assigned to advisor number 1 versus 2 versus 3. I can do that here by adding another grouping field, but for our purposes here, we're just going to show it based on the tier 3, tier 2, tier 1s. So I'll go ahead and click the green button, Save Template. And then once I do that, we're going to be brought up to this other page here that's going to actually show that information in the report. So it'll take a moment to load here, but now I can actually see, hey, I have tier 1s. I have about 2 of them here. So it'll count them in the parentheses here. I have 1 tier 2, and then I have 1 tier 3. And if I wanted to represent that in a, let's say a chart here, and I wanted to show, well, how many do I actually have based on the different types of contacts, like tier 1s, 2s, and 3s, I can represent that in a couple different ways here. I'm going to choose the donut graph here, and I'm just going to call this active clients, and I'm going to want to slice it by their contact type. And then the value here, we're just going to keep it as the number of contacts. We're not looking for any average ages or counts of ages or the minimum or maximum. So we're going to go ahead and leave it as number of contacts. And then I'll save that chart. And what it's actually going to do here is going to represent that information now so that you can see on the legend here, I know that I have 2 tier 1s. I only have 1 tier 2. And also 1 tier 3. And in total, I have 4 active clients. So there's a great report that you can run inside of your own CRM and Wealthbox and actually start to get good, clean data out of it. Hey, thanks for sticking around towards the end of the video. If you enjoyed this content about Wealthbox CRM and maybe you're also looking for other advisor tech tool tips, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you also are having troubles with building out some other customizations inside of your own CRM, maybe need some help just like this, please feel free to schedule an intro call with us. We'd be more than happy to talk about those challenges that you're facing, and we have the link down below in the description.